HPB and Henry Steele Olcott by Claude Bragdon. Published 1910. This second important event in the history of modern theosophy, the meeting of Madame Blavatsky with Colonel Henry Steele Olcott, the uniting of the brain of the new movement with its hand, was in setting and sentiment as different as possible from the episode first described. Before the raising of the curtain, however, let us go behind the scenes for a moment, for a glimpse of the President-Founder. Henry Steele Olcott won his title of colonel by distinguished service in the Federal Army during the American Civil War, though his most useful service to his country was rendered in various governmental offices. In 1874 he was living in New York, engaged in a successful and remunerative law practice, with no faintest intimation of the call of the East, to which he later responded by the consecration of the final 30 years of his life. Strong, brave, competent, honest, kind, friendly, and sociable, loving a song, a joke, a pipe, a story, he might perhaps not have escaped being classed as a bromide, had the classification been invented then, save for a certain intellectual alertness, a disposition to do his own thinking, influenced by prejudice or sentiment. This intellectual curiosity not unnaturally assumed the form of an interest in the physical phenomena of spiritualism, the particularism of the passing hour. His attitude was purely that of an inquirer, and his temperate and well-poised mind saved him from a too great credulity on the one hand, and a scornful skepticism on the other. It seemed to him then, as it has seemed to many others since, that after making all due allowance for errors of observation and for the frauds of professional mediums, there remained in the phenomena called spiritualistic a mystery involving a scientific question of the utmost importance to mankind. In August, 1874, word came to Colonel Olcott of strange happenings on the homestead farm of the Eddy family, in the Green Mountains of Vermont. Constituting himself a psychic research society of one, he spent from August to December in the little hamlet of Shatteed, Ediaverig, to discover the truth about the Eddy manifestations. He has described his experiences and stated his conclusions in letters to two leading New York daily papers, and in a book called People from the Other World. Of the first of these letters, and that by no means the most remarkable, the Daily Graphic said that it told a story as marvelous as any to be found in history, but was it, after all, as marvelous as the story I am telling now? The meeting of two people, from opposite ends of the earth, in that outer and remote place, drawn together there, not by accident, nor as the result of individual desire or design, but as the initial move in a great game planned far away and long ago, and played by transcendent beings in whose hands this man and woman were instruments. Picture a rude and dilapidated old farmhouse, once a tavern, set in a sparsely settled valley of green pasture land, backed by purple and blue mountains flying flags of drifting clouds. Imagine the vicinage infested, not by summer people, sportsmen, nature lovers, but by a motley crowd of cranks, bent solely on the pursuit of the morbid marvelous, supplied them by the nightly ceases of the two Eddy brothers, Horatio and William, the last, and most morose and miserable of a long line of abnormal psychics. This is Colonel Olcott's description of the company in which he found himself, ladies and gentlemen, editors, lawyers, divines and ex-divines, inventors, architects, farmers, peddlers of magnetic salve and mysterious nostrums, long-haired men and short-haired women, sickly dreamers who prate of interiors and conditions and spheres, clairvoyants and healers /real or bogus, phrenologists, who read bumps without feeling them, under spirit direction, mediums for tipping, rapping, and every imaginable form of modern spiritual phenomena, people from the most distant and widely separated localities, nice, clever people whom one is glad to meet and sorry to part from, and people who shed a magnetism as disagreeable as dirty water. They come and go, singly and otherwise, some after a day's stay, convinced that they had been cheated, but the vast majority astounded and perplexed beyond expression by what their eyes have seen and their ears heard. This misfit company was one day augmented by the arrival of HPB on her master's business, looking, as we know, not for ghosts of the dead, but for Colonel Olcott, the man who was to be her colleague in a great undertaking. And if I must tell you how the historic association between these two began, it was in the proffer by him of a light for her cigarette. The incident is typical of their entire relation to one another, into which the question of sex never intruded itself from first to last. They were comrades, brothers in arms, partners in an absorbing and critical enterprise, but lovers never. Neither then, at the commencement, writes Colonel Olcott, in old diary leaves, nor ever afterwards had either of us the sense of the other being of the opposite sex. We were simply chums, so regarded each other, so called each other not all at once, but very gradually did she reveal herself and her mission to her new-found friend, nor did she give him any hint at first as to the existence of the Himalayan sages nor of her own extraordinary powers. She had been sent from Paris to America to prove the reality of the spiritualistic phenomena, and to show, at the same time, the fallacy of the spiritualistic theory of spirits. Her work was to replace the crude Western mediumism, and its morbid preoccupation with ghosts, with Eastern spiritual science, and she inaugurated this work by enlightening Colonel Olcott as to the real nature of the phenomena he was witnessing, expounding to him the Eastern theory of Maya, the constitution of man, the plastic nature of the human double, using the eddy manifestations to illustrate her various points.